Welcome to the market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. This is Frank coming to you with the market recap for Friday, September 14th. Pretty flat day in the market as the week just kind of comes to an end. We saw some pretty good excitement in the market this week, but today was kind of just a day that went by in the market. So we'll take a look at how things look following the day that was. Before we do, very quickly looking ahead to next week, we do have a handful of S&P 500 companies coming out with earnings: AutoZone, Copart, Darden Restaurants, FedEx, General Mills, Micron, Oracle, and Red Hat. So not a tremendously busy week in the earnings front, but certainly a few S&P companies reporting. So we'll keep an eye on them as we move forward. Adobe had earnings of course, before today's open, and had a very strong day. So earnings can definitely play a big part in trading, right? So looking at our overall markets, again, pretty flat day. S&P a little bit of back and forth, but really not a whole lot happened, closing very, very flat over in the S&P. NASDAQ, very similar, pretty flat day, not able to carry on that momentum, but we've had a really pretty solid week. So some profit taking on Friday. To me, at least, that makes sense. I can't blame anybody for doing that. The Dow Jones also pretty flat. Did kind of hold that little mini breakout that we had. We took out that previous swing high, of course, yesterday, kind of just hung around right above that here today in the market. So really, when you look at those big indexes, not a whole lot of excitement. Our Russell actually showed some signs of life here today. Of course, we know that they've been holding this breakout point for over a week now. Started to see some bulls come back into that index, nothing outlandish or crazy, but this is the first time in a while we've just kind of seen a pretty green candle right on the Russell. Usually we see a lot of back and forth and ending very, very flat. So maybe we're going to start to see some money come back into that index as we move into next week. So great to see that breakout point holding. And again, we like it to happen fast, especially if we're in it, right? But it doesn't have to happen fast just because we would like it to. Kind of shifting gears over to our sectors, another very indecisive day over in materials as we continue to go back and forth in materials. So nothing really has changed technically there for quite a while now. We did see a little bit of a rally on energy. Energy's kind of gone into this day-to-day mentality lately. Day before yesterday, we had that bearish reverse hammer candlestick. Yesterday, we had that bullish hammer candlestick. And both days, the next day's price movement really was reflective of that candle. We're still kind of right in the middle of our current range between support down here and resistance up here. So we're kind of smack dab in the middle right now, which I never really like the middle. I like the edges. I like when things are closer to support or resistance. Because the middle, you got to give it a lot of room, whichever side you're on. But we are, kind of still in that sideways type of pattern, very undecided over in the energy sector right now from the looks of things. Our financials, who really spent the last couple of trading days struggling, bounced back a little bit today, was our strongest sector, kind of closed right back below that old breakout point. Certainly, that's a nice step in the right direction. It was looking pretty weak for much of this week. I'm not ready to jump on the bullish train just yet, but that does keep me from wanting to jump on the bearish train all that much. Certainly a little bit of strength coming back into that sector was nice to see, at least from a bullish point of view. I will be watching this little swing low that we placed yesterday before this upward movement. That shouldn't break. If that breaks, that is where, at least as of right now, I would say I am bearish. I'm not expecting that necessarily to happen, but that is going to be the price point that I'm going to be watching for. I was looking at, a lot of the, S&P 500 financial charts, and a lot of them just don't look very good. And so I don't know what that means, but I wasn't a big fan of the way most of them were looking. So, but a nice bounce back day, no doubt about that today. Industrials remain very strong. I checked the Tackle Trading Twitter this morning, and think about 8 or 9 industrial companies within this ETF had posted new highs today. So that continues to be a very strong area, no doubt about it. We still, have little room to run. We still got a ways to go before that overhead resistance. We do have this kind of little swingy resistance about where we're at going back into early in the year. I don't think that's a huge level of resistance, but of course I'll always note those areas. But really, we remain very strong over in the industrial sector. Tech, of course, much like the NASDAQ, pretty much took a little bit of profits and the rest of the day off. Not a lot to report. Over in the tech sector, we do continue to hold our overall trend, though, which is really the most important thing, right? These patterns holding up and how they impact our individual stock within these sectors. It matters a lot. At least it matters a lot to me. Staples did dip down early. They were looking kind of ugly early in the day, but really rallied on the intraday closing, with a little bit of strength. If we go and maybe look at a 15-minute chart, just to see that, get a little gap on the open, really quite a bit of selling early and rebounded much of the rest of the day. That's been a strong sector. And so buyers taking opportunities to buy it doesn't really surprise us. Let's continue to follow that resistance level. That's going to be important, right? We might, and again, we have to project here because we only have a couple of candles in, but this could potentially be forming a cup and handle pattern where here's our cup, which is formed right now. If we take another run at that resistance, that will form our handle. I would like to see that. I like that pattern. That would let me think that, if this can break, there's some upside left over in this sector. So that's going to be something we can keep an eye on as we work into next week. Utilities continue to kind of battle at resistance. Up day yesterday, down day today. But again, much like Staples, really kind of rallied off of their low point. They were drugged down by NI. I can't remember the exact name of the company. I know the ticker symbol NI. They were down big today, almost 12% on some gas explosions from one of their subsidiaries out in Massachusetts. Let's just look at that really quick. NiSource, something like that is their name. NiSource. And so they were drugged down to a large extent by this company. Certainly this isn't the only culprit for why the utility sector didn't do great today, but it didn't do them any favors. Bad news over there for NiSource, that's for sure. So coming back to utilities, really we kind of continue to be within that range. Again, we've established a new range, just like we have on energy, on this sector right now. We'll continue to monitor the top and the bottom until we come out of these type of situations. For me, at least, they're either neutral plays. That means I'm either doing things like credit spreads, condors, cash flow type of trades, or I'm waiting for it to come out one way or the other. Break up, break down, so I can get some clarity. If we're stuck in the middle, it's hard to have that clarity, right? Directionally speaking, at least. Looking at our healthcare, overall remains strong. We did see some profit taking over there today to close the week out, but our little breakout that we established yesterday, that of course, old breakout point, still quite a ways below us. We're still looking very bullish overall, as we know we're dealing with new highs pretty regularly now over in the healthcare sector. So still remains very much a strong sector from a technical point of view. Just a little bit of profit taking here today is all. We did see our discretionary slip a little bit. They've been kind of hanging right around that resistance, kind of again on a day where the ball just never got rolling. No surprise that it was tough to break through resistance, right, for some of these sectors. These guys are no exception. I'll continue to watch that as a potential breakout point as we work into next week. So I don't really mind that it didn't break out today. I don't love breakouts on Friday. I'd just rather they wait till Monday so I have the whole week. Maybe that's just a me thing. I don't know. And then real estate, again, very sideways, continues to be so, trading within this range. Volatility's kind of popped in a little bit. Some of the REITs were having a hard time today, but we really just kind of have to wait. Much like any other sideways situation, cash flow strategies are the way that I'm going to be looking at these things. Directional strategies are very difficult when we're stuck. I mean, we can play the bounce, buy at the low, sell at the high, and that's a possibility if we're around and like those types of trading opportunities. But still, very, very sideways in the short term over in the real estate sector. We did see some upward movement on our dollar today, kind of caught its footing in that previous swing that it put in. We're still stuck right in this range, really, until we come out of this. We're just going to have to wait, I guess. I don't see great trades, collectively over here in the dollar right now while we're kind of dealing with this little sideways back and forth. But we did see, some pretty good buying come back in. Definitely some folks willing to bet on that support level holding today. So there is that. Gold continues to basically have this, it's fighting, it's duking it out. That's a ton of resistance. It's a huge downtrend. It's hard to get buyers on board. Another day of selling. We took that run yesterday, got very close to that 1220 before throwing in the towel and seeing some selling here today. Still have to say that's in a bearish situation. I would still say it's a bullish signal if we are able to break above that 1220. So until really something changes, my stance probably isn't going to change either. Silver is very similar, of course, but it actually closed near the bottom of the trading range. So it kind of ran to the top of the trading range, that little range we've been in here over the last little while, kind of ran to the top before giving up and really closing very weak down at the bottom. Now, we didn't break, and it's not a break until it's a break, right? But we did see a lot of weakness as the day progressed. So we'll continue to monitor that floor and that ceiling too. I don't think I'd be interested if it were to break out. I might be interested if it breaks down. Again, that's just me. We'll continue to watch that as we move into next week. We're really building a nice little floor here, and I like to see that. I really do like to see that. Looking over at natural gas, we kind of carried over that momentum from yesterday. A lot of selling as we approach that level or that area of support. We want to be careful. If I were, in a bearish position on natural gas, I'd probably want to close it before the weekend. I'm kind of a wimp, I'll be the first to admit that. But we do know that there's a lot of support there. And while I am seeing some weakness overall in natural gas, I'm also going to respect that support zone that's held up time and time again. So let's keep an eye on that support zone. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, if it were to break that would be a very bearish signal. And there probably would be some downside, upside, I guess. So some room to run to the downside, maybe a better way to put it. But we haven't done it yet. And until it happens, I'm going to assume it's not going to happen, but certainly very weak over in natural gas today. And crude, of course, back and forth. We're right back in this range. It's crude. In a weird way, nobody likes it. No traders I talk to are excited about crude one way or another, but yet it keeps having all sorts of day-to-day movement, and it really kind of ends up being in the same place. There's a lot of, from week to week, there's a lot of movement, some upsides, some downsides, some failed breakouts, but then we just kind of close flat right in the middle of this trading range that we've been fighting with for quite some time. Until we get some clarity out of that, I agree with a lot of the traders I've been talking to. This is just something you keep an eye on. Eventually, we're going to get some clarity, and we'll want to be there to take advantage of that when that happens, whenever that may be. Right now, for me, this is just something that's what you do. I don't think there is a great directional trading situation going on in crude. Whatever side of the coin you find yourself on, I think you can do better out there as far as potential trading opportunities. So, but we continue to work within this range, and that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. Sooner or later, we're going to come out of it. Maybe I'm not comfortable jumping in the first time it happens after two failed breakouts to the upside. I don't know that I would be, but it would at least give me a signal, right? I don't have to trade every single signal that I see. I just need to be aware of the signals. So I do like that we're kind of in this range because, the longer we're in here, sooner or later, it will make up its mind, right? And I can be patient and you can be patient. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but there's lots of great things to trade out of the market, right? We don't just have to trade crude. So that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do us for this week in the market. Pretty exciting week. Nice to see our indexes bounce back. Nice to see our patterns that we've been following and will follow every single day, for the most part, really hold up, not breaking support, having breakout points hold. Those are the things that we want to see as traders, right? So it was a pretty solid little week in the market. I'm looking forward to next week. Of course, this weekend, in addition to enjoying time with your friends and family, make sure you're getting through your watch list, getting through your scouting reports, getting through any scanning, being ready to rock and roll bright and early Monday morning, because it'll be here before you know it. But make sure you are saving some time for your friends and family this weekend to boot. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, it is my pleasure, and I certainly do appreciate everybody's time. I will look forward to seeing you next week. If you enjoyed Market Recap, it is always helpful and appreciated if you give us a thumbs up to let us know we're on the right track. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already over on YouTube, so you can be alerted to any new videos that we're doing over here at Tackle Trading. And make sure to follow us over at Tackle Trading on Twitter. With that, get out of here. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the next one.